say. So thank you.
Okay, great. Council members, we're going to open it up to questions, either that for planning staff or for the applicant himself. Councilmember Dugan.
Mr. Chair, I really don't have my question would go back to the parking idea, but I think you kind of answered it here. And I really appreciate both these two rezonings in this area, increasing the density and kind of removing or pulling out a lot of parking requirements. I think that's a big bonus for us. It helps us on the public transportation side of the house. It helps us on make it a more of a walkable city. And I really appreciate hopefully the elimination of a large parking structure in an area that we have plenty of public transportation and make a much more walkable city. So I look forward to both these rezonings if we approve them, but this is a breath of fresh air. So thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Okay, appreciate you being here, Nanette and Brian. We'll move on to item number 6, which is a potential rezone and master plan amendment at 203 East, 2100 South, 221 East, 2100 South, and 1991 South, 200 East. And I think this is the item where we have Nick Norris, who will be here, but also Brian Fulmer, who is our council office policy analyst. And I'll turn it over to Brian first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a proposal to amend the Central Community Master Plan future land use map and the zoning map for the properties. Current zoning is RMF 45, which is moderate and high density multifamily residential. And the proposed zoning is FBUN2, which is form-based urban neighborhood district. Mixed use, including multifamily housing, is proposed for the site. However, a specific development proposal has not been submitted. Planning Commission forwarded a positive recommendation to the City Council for zoning map amendments. Now I will turn it over to Nick Norris.
I don't know that I have anything else to add except hopefully we can see a map so you can see where this is. You can see the subject property outlined in red. And unlike some of the other zoning amendments you've seen tonight, this does have fairly close proximity to some lower density residential districts as the city steps down away from 200 East to the east. Again, it's a proposal to amend the master plan from medium high residential to high mixed use, and to change the zoning from RMF 45 to FBUN2. One of the key differences between the RMF 45 and FBUN2, and this is anticipation of the question about parking, but I think you all know that FBUN2 does not have a minimum parking requirement, which is something that is applied typically to areas that have good access to transit, just as we discussed with the last item. And on this particular item, there's transit, high frequency transit on 2100 South and on State Street, as well as approximately 1 block to the south is the S line that provides access to the regional transit rail network. The difference in height, so in other FBUN2 zones where there's a corner property, some have requested that the corner be added to the extra height. This has not been part of this proposal, so it would be limited to the 50-foot height that the FBUN2 allows by right. If there's any questions, I'm happy to entertain those.
Mr. Chair. Councilmember Mono.
Yeah, thanks. This is, can you correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, but I think I saw this at community council meeting several months ago. It's the property owner of is it Magnolia? Not Magnolia. There's existing apartments there, right? And so those would stay and be rezoned, but their actual hard corner parcel is the potential spot for an additional building. Is that still what is being proposed? And I know that what they property owners tell us doesn't necessarily mean that's what will always stay, but am I remembering
that's my understanding. That apartment building is the Georgia Apartments, which I think was in the news a couple of years ago, that people are familiar with. But yeah, that's my understanding, and I don't know if the applicant is here to provide more clarity on that.
Taylor, do you know if the applicant is here?
I believe that they were. I saw them enter. Let me check.
And Councilmember Mono, is this something that you'd like to propose to the applicant?
No, I mean, I do anticipate, as Nick alluded to, questions about parking where it's so close to single-family residential. So that's something that will be on my mind. But I mean, I also agree with what Dan Dugan just said about how the city should move away from car dependency and more towards encouragement of public transit use. So those are the two competing factors I'll be thinking about, I think. In terms of height and setbacks, because it's just adjacent to the county complex, I'm not super concerned about the added 5 feet or anything like that, but it would be that spillover impact into neighborhoods. But if I remember correctly, that most of the property stays as is. It's just one parcel that's being changed.
Any other questions, council members? Okay, that's great. I don't see any. We'll move on then